When WTA officials raided the practice location, they found shocking information concerning Alex Eala. The training morning was meant to be uneventful until the officials unexpectedly appeared. Whispers spread like wildfire. Was this a random inspection or something far more significant? Coaches froze. Players halted the exercise in the middle. Cameras averted their eyes. And when the information leaked hours later, the whole tennis world fell into chaos. Because what they found changed everything we thought was true about Eala. It was supposed to be just another morning at the WTA training center in Singapore. The humid air, the constant beat of tennis balls echoing across courts, and the faint aroma of focus and hard work. On court 7, though, something felt different. Alex Eala was there, silent, resolute, and unwavering. Her footwork was more accurate than usual, and her expression was unreadable. For weeks, there had been gossip about her new training methods. Her wrist and racket handle were fixed as a result of the uncommon equipment and her amazing increase in stamina. It was referred to as creativity by coaches. Officials began to question it, and rivals called it obsession. Eala was among the WTA circuit's most promising young players. Her humility was admired, and her discipline was well known. However, beneath that calm exterior, a tempest was steadily taking shape and going unseen. Her recent setbacks had been devastating. Anxieties at crucial moments, close games slipping away, and the eerie quiet following every loss. Some say that following her most recent defeat in Gwanga, she changed. She was strangely possessive of her training sessions, quieter and more private. Long after everyone else had left, she would practice late. Even her striking partners are kept at a distance by her coach. The typical transparency of tour companionship disappeared. The equipment arrived next. She has a tablet that she never lets anyone touch, tiny sensors on her wristband, and a modified racket handle with blinking LEDs. Other gamers wrote it off as just another one of those high-tech tests. But ultimately, mistrust replaced curiosity. "She's experimenting," a player whispered to another. Eala didn't say much these days, but her game did the talking with ruthless accuracy, relentless speed, and lack of feeling. She seemed to be sprinting toward or away from something that was hidden from view. Then there was that morning, a typical day that ended in complete turmoil. Hours before the first assault, a quiet buzz had begun to circulate among the personnel. There was a slight but noticeable tension. Even the sound of her serves held an edge. Her court was quieter and the stares were longer. Unexpectedly, the WTA integrity and compliance team had shown up early. No cameras, no reporters, just a list of names, a few phone calls, and quiet coordination. At the top of that list, Alexa, on the other hand, was totally oblivious to the impending storm while participating in a practice rally on the court. Her coach's face was tight as he continued to check his phone. Everyone felt that something wasn't quite right. "She's working too hard," as if she were hiding behind the grind, a journalist had said the night before. The light shined on the glass walls of the training center, and the universe remained in balance. Eala's breath was loud, her bullets sounded like thunder, and she was totally focused, the type of focus that blinds you to the fact that everything may change in a matter of minutes. Officials were already assembling around the door. Their badges glittered in the light, their voices were hushed, and their objective was clear. Players on nearby courts exchanged confused glances. Something was happening that no one had expected. By the time Eala looked up and saw the line of suits approaching her like a wave, the sound of tennis balls had stopped on all courts. Every player turned, and all of the cameras stopped with a bewildered expression. Alexa lowered her racket, and her coach whispered something too faint to hear. Then, with a clipboard in hand, the lead official came up and said 6 words that would reverberate around the sport for months. "We must examine your location." Everything began to fall apart, including on court 7. The WTA had never seen such ferocity. "We must examine your region," as soon as those 6 words were uttered. Alex Eala's surroundings changed from concentration to incredulity. Nearby players, employees, and spectators all froze. This check wasn't made at random. It was well planned, unexpected, accurate, and obviously targeted. For a little while, Eala remained still while holding the racket. Her thoughts were racing. Examine. The officials exchanged brief glances before one of them moved forward and produced a sealed envelope stamped with the WTA Integrity Division's insignia. It was official. The order had come from the top. In a matter of seconds, the peaceful rhythm of practice collapsed into confusion. Her coach attempted to intervene, asking for clarification, but was swiftly pulled aside by one of the senior officers. The others started scanning the training equipment and perimeter lockers. Every gesture was being observed, every look captured. In the distance, camera shutters clicked. Before anyone else understood what was going on, a few journalists had sneaked into the facility and sensed a story. Like wildfire, rumors circulated throughout the building. Someone murmured, "They're searching Eala's court. There must have been a terrible incident." The once familiar practice area became a scene of hushed stress as the search proceeded. Carefully, Eala's racket bag was opened. Her recovery bands, grips, and towels were taken off and arranged. The lead official motioned for another to examine the racket handle attachment, the wrist sensors, the equipment, and the little tablet that was constantly visible next to her bench. The murmuring were more audible at that point. Everyone has already seen those gadgets. They were small, elegant, and made specifically for her training, but no one was aware of their true purpose. The tablet was linked to a monitoring device by one of the officials. A number of coded files and encrypted data logs were visible when the screen flared to life. The lead inspector's face became stern. He securely sealed the tablet in an evidence pouch and added, "We'll need to confiscate this." It was an obvious message. It had nothing to do with her equipment. This has to do with its contents. Eala's coach made an effort to diffuse the tension. He emphasized that it's all training data. Standard things like heart rate, timing, and recuperation. The reporter blurted out, "What is that?" Eala looked equally shocked. "That's not mine," she said quietly, stepping closer, but the officials didn't pause. The practice area, which had once symbolized her passion and tranquility, now felt like a crime scene. However, the officials weren't convinced, so they checked every piece of technology, scanning for data traces and connections. One of them discovered a small external chip attached behind her racket strings. The rumors about the institution evolved into conjecture and criticism as the officials went on. Is it a signal device of some sort? It might be utilized for illicit coaching data or match predictions. No way. She's too well behaved for that. However, the harm had already been done. On social media, the picture of officials packing her possessions had already gone viral. Eala Raid became popular all across the world in a matter of minutes. Fans wanted explanations. Some vehemently defended her, calling it a miscommunication and a witch hunt. Eala, meanwhile, sat silently on the bench. Eyes far away, head down. Even though the officials had completed gathering evidence, they had left behind more than just suspicion. The lead inspector gave her coach one last warning as they left. He snapped, "You'll get a complete report within a day. All equipment is kept in custody until that time." The court fell silent once again as the gates closed behind them. But the tranquility had vanished. It was the quiet that ensues when something breaks. Reputation, confidence, and trust. Eala surveyed the area. It seemed strange to be in the court she was so familiar with. Every sound seemed to be exaggerated. The echo of her own breath, the little hum of the air, and the squeak of her sneakers. She was not facing an opponent on the other side of the net for the first time in her career. She was battling rumors, shadows, and the burden of uncertainty. And she was confident of one thing in her heart. Whatever they discovered in that data would follow her well beyond this court. Since the raid was only the start. The true struggle for her identity, her truth, and her future had just begun. The rumors became headlines a day later. The same query appeared on every tennis page, sports blog, and trending feed. What did they discover in the practice data of Alex Eala? There was a deliberate hush for some while. The Isles camp and the WTA did not issue a statement. Silence, however, just increases curiosity, and curiosity leads to turmoil. Leaks soon started to appear online. A file purportedly from an unidentified insider started making the rounds in private groups and forums. If accurate, its contents were explosive. Investigators allegedly discovered encrypted recordings of Eala's opponents in addition to her practices and matches on the seized tablet. Real-time tracking of players' movement patterns, serve placement frequencies, and fatigue signs was indicated by data logs. Metrics are typically only accessible by official analytics teams. Early reports claimed that the system could forecast a player's serving habits, drop shot tendencies, and accuracy decline under pressure. It sounded like advanced training technology to some. The uproar started because it sounded to some like spying. Journalists covering sports started making connections that weren't intended. An story titled, "Eala's Secret Edge: How a Young Star Might Have Crossed the Line," appeared in one publication. Another, "The Hidden Scandal Nobody Saw Coming," presented it in an even more dramatic way. Hashtags grew in a matter of hours. ELA scandal, digital advantage, your fair play is in jeopardy. Her detractors were unrelenting, and her admirers were devastated. If it's true that she cheated using data rather than drugs, one fan commented. This is a witch hunt, someone else retorted. Every athlete uses analytics. Why concentrate? The most devastating blow, however, came when a portion of the compromised file revealed private text conversations between Eala's coach and an outside analytics developer. A unique algorithm designed to take advantage of opponent rhythm patterns was discussed in the mails. Although the context was unclear, context rarely counts in the court of public opinion. The response was swift and ruthless. Sponsors suspended their collaborations. On live panels, analysts discussed ethics. According to quotes from former professionals like Yelena Janovic and Marian Bari, if it's true, it sets a dangerous precedent. The official answer from the WTA was succinct but concerning. We are aware of recent reports about a registered gamer collecting data without authorization. The issue is being